The colony world of New Prairie sat at the edge of human space, a green and golden jewel spinning slowly around a warm yellow sun. 300 families had made their homes here over the past 12 years, turning wild grasslands into farms that stretched from horizon to horizon. The air smelled of wheat and corn, and the rich dark soil that humans had learned to love wherever they found it. Marcus Chen stood on his porch as the sun began to set, watching the last of his automated harvesters roll back toward the barn. He was 62 years old, with gray hair cut short and hands that had grown tough from years of work. His face carried deep lines from squinting into too many suns on too many worlds. A cup of coffee steamed in his hand as he watched the sky turn orange and pink. His wife Alina came out to stand beside him. She was 10 years younger, with dark hair just starting to show streaks of silver. She had been a medic once before they came here. Now she grew tomatoes and peppers in a greenhouse behind the house and helped deliver bobbies when the colony needed her skills. "Beautiful evening," she said. "It is," Marcus agreed. "Makes me glad we came here." They had earned this peace. Marcus had served 30 years in the Colonial Defense Force, rising from a young private to a colonel before he retired. He had fought in the expansion wars, held the line at Proxima Station, led the ground assault on Haven Prime. He had seen enough death and fire to last 10 lifetimes. Many of his neighbors had similar stories. Tom Rodriguez, who farmed the land to the east, had been a Marine sergeant. Sarah Okonkwo, whose cattle ranch spread across the northern hills, had commanded a destroyer in the fleet. Old Henrik Larson, who everyone called Grandpa despite his fearsome past, had been a special operations commander for 20 years. The colonial administration did not send random civilians to frontier worlds. The galaxy was dangerous, full of unknown threats. They sent people who could handle themselves, people who had proven they could survive. The first sign of trouble came 3 days later. Marcus was checking the fence line on the western edge of his property when his communicator buzzed. It was Sarah Okonkwo. "Marcus, I found something strange. Can you come take a look?" He drove his old ground car across the prairie. Sarah's ranch house sat on a low hill, giving views in all directions. She was waiting for him near one of her pastures, where her cattle usually grazed. The cattle were not grazing. They were clustered together in the center of the field, pressed against each other, their eyes wide with fear. "They've been like this since dawn," Sarah said. "Won't eat, won't drink." Marcus had seen frightened animals before. These were beyond frightened. They were terrified in a way that spoke of ancient instincts, of prey sensing a predator nearby. She led him to the edge of the pasture, where the grass met a line of trees. Clear tracks showed in the mud. Marcus knelt down to study them. The tracks were not made by any animal he recognized. They had 4 toes, each ending in a curved claw that had sunk deep into the earth. The stride length suggested something large, maybe 2 meters tall when standing upright. "These are fresh," Marcus said. "I've checked the survey records. Nothing native to this planet makes tracks like these." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. In all his years of service, he had learned one important lesson. The universe was full of things that wanted to kill you. "Call a meeting," he said, "tonight at the community hall." The community hall was an old barn that the colonists had converted. That evening, 43 people crowded into its wooden walls. Marcus explained what they had found, showing images of the tracks on a portable display. "We don't know what this is," Marcus said, "but until we know more, I suggest we take precautions. Check your security systems, keep your families close, and dig out your old equipment." A murmur ran through the crowd. Everyone knew what he meant. Most colonists had brought their service weapons when they retired. Standard colonial regulation allowed veterans to keep personal arms. Over the next week, the colony changed. Families kept children closer to home. Farmers worked in pairs. Communication checks became more frequent, and the weapons came out. Marcus cleaned his old C-12 pulse rifle that first night. He had carried it for 15 years, through a dozen campaigns. His hands remembered every part of it. The second attack came 5 days later, not on the colony. On a supply convoy 60 kilometers to the south. 3 vehicles, 6 drivers, 2 tons of equipment. The convoy was found the next morning by a passing patrol, or what was left of it. Marcus flew out with Tom Rodriguez to see the scene. The vehicles had been torn apart, not destroyed by weapons fire but physically ripped open like tin cans. Blood stained the ground in dark patches, though no bodies remained. "They took them," Tom said. "Whatever did this, they took the people." Marcus walked through the wreckage. Shell casings littered the ground. The drivers had tried to fight back. It had not mattered. He counted tracks, at least 20 individuals, moving in formation. "These tracks show discipline," Marcus said. "See how they spread out to encircle the convoy. This isn't animal behavior. This is tactics." They were not dealing with wild beasts. They were dealing with intelligent hunters. The Craxian hunting party had been observing the human settlement for 17 days. Their leader, a scarred veteran named Threx, watched the soft creatures with amusement. These humans were nothing like the soldiers the Craxians had encountered before. These were farmers, prey species pretending to be civilized. Threx had led raiding parties across a dozen worlds. The Craxian dominion conquered through blood and terror. They were apex predators of 3 star systems, evolved over millions of years to hunt and kill. "How many?" his second Grax asked. 300 scattered, isolated. "Easy targets." "Very easy." Tomorrow night, they would begin the real hunt. Marcus called another meeting, but this time only 20 people were invited, the veterans. "The colonial administration still won't send help," Marcus began, "which means we deal with it ourselves." He activated a map of the colony. "We're too spread out. I'm proposing we establish 3 strong points. My farm, Sarah's ranch, and the community center. Each becomes a fortified position." They spent 3 days preparing. At Marcus's farm, they reinforced the barn with steel plates. They set up sensor systems and established firing positions. And everyone who could shoot gathered for a refresher course. Marcus watched 40 veterans line up at the improvised firing range. Within an hour, most of them were shooting as well as they ever had. The attack came at sunset. They emerged from the forest like nightmares made flesh, dozens of them. Their scales were dark green and brown. Their eyes gleamed yellow, fixed on the humans with predatory focus. Threx led the charge, confident in victory. These farmers would scatter like prey animals. What he found was 37 veterans standing in organized firing lines, weapons already raised. The first volley caught the Craxians in mid-stride. Pulse rifle fire lit up the evening like lightning. The Craxian advance faltered as warriors fell, their natural armor proving no match for military-grade weapons. Marcus fired steadily, picking his targets with cold precision. These people had fought in wars across the galaxy. They knew how to hold a line. "Retreat!" Threx screamed. In less than 3 minutes, it was over. 15 Craxian bodies lay in the field. The humans had taken no casualties. "What were those things?" Tom asked. Marcus examined one of the fallen creatures, a perfect predator, covered in thick scales and deadly claws. "I don't know," he said, "but I think we're going to find out." Threx gathered the survivors in a cave 3 kilometers away. Of 32 warriors, only 14 remained. "They were waiting for us," Grax said. "They knew we were coming." Threx had no explanation. His understanding of these humans had been wrong. They were not soft prey. They were predators themselves. "We wait," Threx decided. "We watch. We learn their patterns, and when the time is right, we strike where they're weakest." In the Chen farmhouse, the colony's leadership was having a similar discussion. We won the first round, Marcus said, but these things are intelligent. They'll adapt. What do you suggest? Sarah asked. We expand our perimeter, set up observation posts. If they're watching us, we watch them back. Henrik Larsson volunteered to lead the first patrol. I know those forests better than anyone. The reconnaissance team returned with crucial intelligence. The Craxians had established a base camp in a cave system 15 kilometers northwest. Between 40 and 60 individuals remained. Marcus gathered this information and began planning. The colonists could not maintain this level of alert forever. They needed to end this. We finish this ourselves, he said. We take the fight to them. That's a significant risk, Henrik said. We'd be attacking them on their ground. Consider the alternative. We wait, maintain defenses, hope they leave. What happens when they start picking us off one by one? 22 volunteers agreed to participate in the assault. They spent 3 days preparing. Teams surveyed approach routes. Weapons were checked. Medical supplies were packed. Elena insisted on coming as field medic. Marcus could not stop her. The assault force moved out before dawn. They traveled light through difficult terrain. By mid-morning, they reached a ridge overlooking the Craxian camp. Marcus observed through binoculars. The cave system was large. He could see movement near the entrances. Cooking fires burned outside. I count 18 visible, he reported. We split into 3 teams. First team provides covering fire from this ridge. Second team blocks their escape route. Third team repels down and hits them from above. They moved into position over the next hour. When everyone was ready, Marcus gave the signal. The first team opened fire. Craxians scattered as warriors fell. The second team hit them from the flank. The creatures could not outrun energy weapons. Marcus and his team rappelled down, landing on ledges above the caves. The Craxians had not posted guards here. That mistake cost them everything. The assault team moved through the upper caves, clearing each chamber. Resistance was scattered and disorganized. Threx was in the deepest cave when the attack began. He rushed toward the sound of battle, determined to die fighting. But when he emerged, he found himself surrounded. Marcus stood 10 meters away, rifle raised. Other humans blocked the exits. Drop your weapons, Marcus said. I do not surrender to prey. We're not prey, we're farmers. There's a difference. We were soldiers before we were farmers. We've fought in wars you can't imagine. Threx looked at the humans surrounding him. He saw the way they held their weapons, the calm certainty in their eyes. These were warriors who had chosen to become farmers. Until someone forced them to fight again. Here's what happens, Marcus said. You take your people and leave. Tell your leaders this world is defended. And if I refuse, then you die here, your choice. For a long moment, Threx calculated odds. His warriors were dead or scattered. Fighting now would be suicide. Slowly, he lowered his weapons. We will go, but this is not over. I know, but it's over for today. The Craxian survivors were allowed to leave. 18 of them walked out that day, all that remained of over 80. Marcus watched them go, feeling only exhaustion. Elena found him sitting on a rock outside the cave. It's over, she said. For now is enough, let's go home. The aftermath brought changes. The colonial administration sent a military detachment 3 weeks later. They arrived to find a colony that no longer needed protection. The young captain in charge looked at images of dead Craxians with amazement. You did this with farming equipment and old service weapons. We did it with training and a refusal to give up, Marcus replied. The captain arranged for permanent security measures. Sensor arrays, defense turrets, emergency communications. Resources that had been unavailable before suddenly appeared. But the colonists knew the truth. The real security came from the people themselves. Life slowly returned to normal. Crops were harvested. Children played in the fields. The weapons were stored, ready if needed. Word spread through colonial networks. Other settlements heard about New Prairie. Some reached out, asking for advice on defense. The Craxian Dominion never officially acknowledged what happened, but information spread through their ranks. The eldest council member made a pronouncement that shaped Craxian policy for generations. These humans are not to be treated as prey. They are predators wearing farmers' masks. Any world they settle is to be considered defended. Over following decades, Craxian raids on human settlements ceased entirely. On the anniversary of the battle, New Prairie held a celebration. Not a military parade, but a community festival. They celebrated not because they had fought, but because they had earned peace. Marcus gave a brief speech, thanking his neighbors. Then he joined the celebration. That night he walked through the fields at the edge of town. The crops rustled softly. Stars blazed above. He thought about all the worlds out there. He hoped young colonists would find peace. He hoped they would never have to fight. But if they did, they would be ready. Because that was what humans did. They built, they grew, they raised families, and when something threatened what they had built, they fought for it. Farmers with military training, soldiers who became farmers. It was not a contradiction. It was what made humanity resilient. Elena was waiting on the porch with coffee. "Beautiful morning," she said as dawn touched the sky. "It really is." And somewhere in space, other beings looked toward human worlds and decided to leave them alone. The farmers were not worth the trouble. Not when those farmers had military training. Not when those farmers refused to be prey.